If you find yourself lying awake at night, the silence of the room a stark contrast to the storm in your mind, because the person you built a life with has quietly become a stranger, you need to understand something critical. You are not alone in this. This scenario unfolds for more men than society ever acknowledges. The reason it arrives like a bolt from the blue isn't due to a lack of care, but a flawed belief system. A deep-seated, culturally ingrained myth that stability is an impenetrable shield. It is not. Not in the way we've been led to believe. Stay with me. This isn't just a story. It's a forensic breakdown of a psychological pattern. We're starting in calm waters and navigating straight into the storm, extracting lessons that are often only learned through devastating personal cost. If you're ready for that clarity, you're in the right place. Before we dive deeper, if you're a man who values reality over fairy tales, you need to be here. Hit subscribe right now. This channel is built for you. We dissect the hidden codes in relationships and self-development through actionable, practical psychology. No abstract theories, no comforting lies, just the patterns, pressures, and plays you can actually use to navigate your life. Subscribe and join the community. The story we're breaking down today comes from a viewer. Let's call him Daniel. He's 44, a senior architect with a respected firm, married for 17 years, father to 2 kids, 13 and 10. By every traditional metric, he had achieved the blueprint. Solid career, a home in a good neighborhood, a wife he was still attracted to, children on a good path. Life was not about drama, it was about rhythm. And then, with a swiftness that defied all those years of construction, the blueprint disintegrated. Daniel's message contained a line that should resonate like a warning bell for every man listening. I'm sharing this because I keep seeing men walk into the same trap. They think it can't happen to them. I thought that too. I was wrong. That sense of immunity is the trap's very foundation. And it almost always begins exactly as it did for Daniel. He met Anna at 26. She was in marketing, sharp, with a quiet confidence. They connected at a casual gathering, bonding over shared, niche interests. What drew Daniel in wasn't just her appearance, though she possessed an effortless, athletic style, but her perceived solidity. She wasn't preoccupied with the social media chase, didn't seem to need constant external validation. She felt, for all intents and purposes, grounded, real. This perceived stability was, at the time, her most attractive quality. The timeline progressed as these blueprints often do. Marriage at 28. First child at 30, second at 33. Anna scaled back her career to manage the home front, keeping a hand in with freelance work. Daniel's career advanced predictably. Life settled into a recognizable pattern. Weekend routines, family vacations, tired but peaceful evenings after the kids were asleep. Daniel described it as comfortable, a mature, sustained love. What he failed to diagnose was that while he saw a safe harbor, a slow but potent chemical change was occurring in the psychological ecosystem of his marriage. The weather was shifting internally long before the clouds appeared on his horizon. This is the point where awareness separates you from the herd. If anything in this narrative is already triggering a sense of recognition, you must engage. Drop the word recognize in the comments below. Not for me, for you. Acknowledging a pattern is the first, non-negotiable step in strategic defense. Do it now. As Anna approached her late 30s, the initial changes were subtle, easily mislabeled. Her gym attendance increased, from a routine to a near-daily imperative. Her wardrobe shifted, new, more attention-forward athletic wear. Daniel's internal narrative, the good husband script, framed this as healthy living. He cheered it on. Then, the digital fingerprint changed. Her social media feeds, once a mix of family and friends, became curated galleries of fitness inspiration, quotes about self-discovery, breaking cycles, and not settling. The language of quiet discontent, masquerading as empowerment. He'd see phrases about invisible cages scroll by. He felt confused, not threatened. A critical misdiagnosis. Then came the mirror audits. Anna would scrutinize her reflection, cataloging faint lines, skin texture, muscle tone. She'd ask Daniel, "Do you notice?" He'd offer the programmed response, "You look amazing." Her retorts became sharper. "You're not really looking." That statement was a payload of diagnostic information he didn't decode. This wasn't vanity. It was market assessment. And the target market was changing. Daniel was operating on an old version of the software. He believed that providing comfort, safety, and predictability cultivated loyalty. What he didn't grasp is that in a certain psychological soil, comfort doesn't cultivate loyalty, it fertilizes restlessness. And once that seed germinates, the entire landscape is altered. I need you to understand this next part at a bone-deep level. What Daniel missed wasn't a series of events, but a fundamental shift in reference points. When a person, man or woman, changes the metric by which they measure their own worth, everything downstream of that change is altered. Their desires, their priorities, their loyalties. Around her 40th birthday, Anna's language began to include a new vocabulary of loss. She made offhand comments about becoming invisible, how service staff didn't engage her like they used to, how glances that once lingered now passed over her. She'd observe women in their 20s with a complex mix of wistfulness and resentment. Daniel, relying on the cultural cliché, dismissed it as midlife anxiety. He didn't understand these weren't comments. They were distress signals. Signals not for him to fix her, but warnings of a coming psychological event. For her birthday, Daniel executed the perfect husband playbook: a luxurious weekend away, spa treatments, fine dining. A textbook effort. Anna was physically present but psychologically distant. Her attention was partitioned, a significant portion devoted to her phone. It was here Daniel noticed the new ecosystem: the gym selfies, the artfully staged coffee shop shots, captions layered with the language of rebirth. The engagement was immediate: heart emojis, fire emojis, comments from men and women alike. "You're glowing. How are you even real?" This digital applause track became her new background score. Daniel felt a primal gut pull, an unease he couldn't rationalize away. This is where passivity becomes complicity. If this breakdown is saving you future pain, you owe it to yourself to hit that like button. Right now, it tells the algorithm this is vital content for men who need it. Like the video. Post 40, the velocity increased. Anna forged a closer bond with a recently divorced friend, Rachel. Rachel was a vocal evangelist for a specific brand of empowerment, one centered on unilateral choice, absence of obligation, and personal pleasure as the supreme moral good. Rachel was dating a younger personal trainer and treated her life as a public victory lap. Anna absorbed this worldview like a new doctrine. Girls' nights began to stretch deeper into the night. When Daniel expressed concern, he was met with a now familiar counteraccusation. He was being controlling. She framed her behavior as reclaiming a self lost to motherhood. Daniel, fearing the label of the oppressive husband, retreated. He confused restraint with wisdom. This is a lethal error. Her aesthetic transformation deepened. Hair color shifted, clothing styles trended younger, edgier. The presentation wasn't merely stylish, it was declarative. It shouted, "I am still here. Look at me." Intimacy, the quiet barometer of connection, faded not with a slam, but a slow leak. Excuses replaced engagement. When Daniel tried to address the distance, it was weaponized. "Is that all you care about?" The subtext was clear. His need for connection was reframed as a transactional demand. So he stopped asking. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the sound of a bridge crumbling. Then came the formal request for space. A solo retreat. A finding myself journey. The suggestion of couples therapy arrived, but its tone was procedural, like a pre-departure checklist, not a salvage mission. The therapy sessions were a masterclass in narrative inversion. Anna spoke of a vanished self, of being unseen, of roles, wife, mother, that had acted as identity erasers. Daniel presented his case: years of support, partnership, shared sacrifice. The therapeutic environment, often skewed toward validating feelings over interrogating actions or context, sided with the narrative of lack. Daniel left each session feeling like the defendant in a trial where the charges had been written after the verdict. And then the calm. The terrifying, settled calm. One evening, kids away, Anna sat with a glass of wine, preternaturally serene. "We need to talk." She disclosed the existence of another man. A younger, recently separated man from the gym. "He sees me," she said. "He makes me feel alive." The timeline, 6 months. When Daniel, shell-shocked, asked the inevitable question about physical boundaries, she dismissed it. That's not what matters. What mattered was the feeling. With this new man, she felt a sensation she claimed had been absent with Daniel for years, desired. That word, brother, is the scalpel. Safe was not enough. Predictable was the enemy. Appreciated was a relic. The currency had changed from the steady, low-yield bond of shared history to the volatile, high-dopamine stock of novel validation. This is the inflection point where hope deludes men. This calm disclosure is not an opening for negotiation. It is a deposition. The decision was finalized in the silent chambers of her mind months, perhaps years, prior. The words are merely a formality. If this part of the dissection is resonating with a painful truth, you must comment truth below. Do not scroll. Typing that word is an act of courage and acknowledgement. It connects you with other men navigating the same realizations. Comment truth. What ultimately shattered Daniel wasn't solely the betrayal. It was the devastating epiphany that the marriage had been psychologically terminated long before the official notice was served. The affair was not the cause of the collapse. It was the symptom of a terminal condition that had already run its course. The post-disclosure days were a brutal drip feed of details. Secret texts, clandestine meetups, a gradual, intentional erosion of boundaries. Yes, it was physical. No, she wasn't sure it was love, but she was certain her feelings for Daniel had transformed. He was a good man, but good had become synonymous with unexciting. She framed her entire adult life, the life they built together, as a confining narrative, a story of obligation from which she was now breaking free. When Daniel, reeling, raised the immutable reality of their children, she deployed the modern cliché, kids are resilient. It's better than a loveless marriage. The story was being edited in real time, transforming a unilateral choice for personal sensation into a necessary act of liberation. Within a month, she moved into a downtown apartment. Her social media transformed into a victory reel, restaurants, concerts, vibrant selfies, captions laden with the lexicon of self-actualization and brave new beginnings. The comment sections erupted with support, a chorus of "You deserve this," and "So proud of you." A digital standing ovation for the performance of disintegration. Meanwhile, Daniel was on the home front, tasked with helping his children navigate the rubble of their family's foundation. The other man, predictably, lasted about 7 months. The reality of school schedules, shared custody, and emotional complexity proved less appealing than the fantasy. When that relationship dissolved, Anna briefly floated the idea of starting fresh. Daniel declined, not from a place of hatred, but from a place of stark, unforgiving clarity. The woman he married was gone. The person before him was a stranger shaped by a different set of values. We need to pause here and surgically examine the psychological machinery at work. This was not a random tragedy. It was not about Daniel failing to keep the spark alive. That is a superficial, victim-blaming take. For a significant subset of individuals, the transition from their late 30s into their 40s triggers a profound psychosocial collision. An identity constructed, often subconsciously, on the pillars of youth, external desirability, and being chosen, begins to encounter the unyielding wall of biological and social reality. From adolescence forward, attention from the opposite sex functions as a consistent, reinforcing dopamine drip, a quantifiable proof of worth. When that drip slows to a trickle, a silent panic can set in. A husband's desire, no matter how genuine, does not function as the same kind of validation. He is already captured. His commitment is assumed. His attraction does not answer the terrifying, latent question: can I still attract someone who has options? Am I still a player in the marketplace? The other man is not a person, he is an answer. He is a walking, talking certificate of ongoing market relevance. His attention, new, uncertain, and elective, delivers a neurochemical hit that decades of devoted partnership cannot possibly match. The brain under novelty and illicit attraction is flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine, the chemicals of focus, obsession, and intense reward. Long-term attachment is mediated by oxytocin and vasopressin, chemicals of bonding, calm, and safety. For a psyche that is dependent on the former cocktail, the latter state can feel like emptiness, like death. Anna did not fall in love. She became addicted to a feeling. She catastrophically confused the intensity of a neurochemical spike with existential truth. And to protect this choice, her mind performed a necessary, sinister operation, retroactive narrative reconstruction. The 17-year shared history was mentally edited. Happy memories were downgraded. Sacrifices were reinterpreted as control. Stability was rebranded as stifling oppression. This revisionist memory is a standard psychological defense mechanism. The mind cannot easily tolerate the cognitive dissonance of destroying something good for a transient feeling. So it alters the past. I didn't blow up a good life. I escaped a prison I never knew I was in. Her ecosystem supported this entirely. Therapy validated her feelings without scrutiny. Her social circle cheered the escape. Social media rewarded the glow-up narrative. The entire culture conspired to frame a potentially catastrophic, family-shattering series of choices as a heroic journey of self-actualization. No one asked if she was simply running from the terrifying, universal reality of aging and mortality. Daniel was not competing with another man. He was competing with a chemical fantasy and a cultural narrative. He could not out-romance a deep-seated insecurity about fading desirability. This was not a failure of effort. It was an identity crisis that detonated within the marriage. If this reframing just connected the dots for you, comment clarity below. Let me know this is landing. This understanding is your power. Now, let's translate insight into foresight. Daniel's hindsight is your potential early warning system. The red flags were not hidden. They were simply misclassified. The psychological red flags, the pattern. 1. Sudden, obsessive reinvention of appearance. A shift from health to hypervisibility. The goal isn't fitness, it's being seen. 2. Language of loss and comparison. Frequent, casual remarks about invisibility or comparing oneself negatively to younger women. 3. Digital identity shift. A sharp increase in curated, validation-seeking social media activity. Gym selfies. Inspirational quotes about new chapters. Captions that signal discontent with the mundane. 4. Change social circle. Gravitation towards newly single or divorced friends who are vocal about empowerment, defined as freedom from responsibility, often amidst chaotic personal lives. 5. Erosion of intimacy and defensive posturing. A decline in physical connection paired with immediate accusations of needing only one thing when the topic is raised. 6. Requests for space or self-finding. Framed not as a mutual need for recharge, but as a unilateral requirement for existential discovery, often away from the family unit. 7. Guarded communication. Increased privacy around phones, schedules becoming vague. 8. History rewriting. This is the master tell. When shared, positive past experiences are retrospectively painted as unhappy, or sacrifices are reframed as oppression. The past is being edited to justify the present. Individually, these can be explained away. Together, they form a diagnostic picture. Your job is to see the picture, not just the individual pixels. The cultural accelerants. Modern discourse actively fuels this pattern. The mantra of following your feelings is elevated to a sacred principle. Discomfort is often immediately pathologized as a sign of oppression. Commitment is framed as optional the moment subjective happiness wanes. Certain therapeutic models can become enablers, validating every emotion without requiring accountability for the consequences of actions based on those emotions. Social media acts as a perpetual confirmation bias engine, where every life-detonating decision can be framed as brave and met with a chorus of applause. What is the strategic response? What could Daniel have done? What can you do? First, the hardest truth. Daniel could not have fixed Anna's existential crisis. He could have been more spontaneous, more verbally affirming, more anything. It likely would have been dismissed or absorbed without changing the trajectory. Her panic was about time, mortality, and fading social capital. Some individuals process this transition with introspection and depth, channeling energy into new creative, intellectual, or familial pursuits. Others attempt to outrun it, seeking to reconstruct the conditions of their youth, often by detonating their present. Your objective is not to spend decades building with someone and then hope they are the former type. Your objective is to identify propensity early and protect yourself continually. Preemptive and ongoing defense strategy. 1. Observe core character, not just chemistry. Pay acute attention early on to how she handles adversity, aging parents, career setbacks. Does she take responsibility or blame external forces? Look at her long-term friendships. Are they stable or are they dramatic and cyclical? 2. Understand her relationship with validation. Is her self-worth internally generated or externally dependent? How does she speak about past relationships? Is she perpetually the victim of others' failures? 3. Maintain your own sovereign identity. This is non-negotiable. Never make a woman or a relationship the absolute center of your universe. Cultivate your purpose, your mission, your physical fitness, your social circles, and your finances independently. Have options, not to cheat, but to remember you are a whole person outside of any partnership. This isn't cynical, it's sane. It also makes you more attractive. 4. Stay alert during calm periods. Complacency is the enemy. Stability is not a finish line. It's a condition to be actively maintained and monitored. Do not mistake the absence of conflict for the presence of health. 5. If red flags escalate, document and prepare. Trust your instincts. If you see the pattern forming, do not accept gaslighting. Quietly understand your legal and financial position. Consult a professional. Hope for the best, but prepare, practically and emotionally, for other outcomes. 6. Know when to walk away with dignity. If the revision of history begins, if the unilateral journey is launched, if disclosure occurs, understand that the person you knew is gone. Engaging in a debate about the past is a fool's errand. Your power often lies in your ability to calmly accept their decision. Focus on protecting your children and your assets, and walk forward without begging. This is often the only move that preserves your self-respect and can, paradoxically, be the only thing that might give them pause. Daniel eventually rebuilt. He focused on being a present father, rebuilt his social life, and regained trust in his own perception. Anna's pattern continued. New relationships, the same language of new beginnings, the same eventual disillusionment. The children are in therapy, learning a harsh lesson about the fragility of promises in the face of unchecked impulses. Daniel's final insight was profound. I don't hate her. I feel sorry for her. She's running from something inevitable, and she destroyed something real trying to escape it. That is the core tragedy. This breakdown is not an indictment of women. It is an analysis of a specific human psychological pattern, amplified by a specific cultural moment, that disproportionately impacts men who are caught unaware. Some people age with grace and wisdom. Others panic and burn down their home to feel the warmth of the flames. Your mission is threefold. Build with those who show evidence of the former. Maintain the awareness and strength to protect yourself if the latter emerges. And never, ever believe that the blueprints you were given are a guarantee against the storm. If this entire breakdown has sharpened your lens on the world, you need to be part of this community. We go deeper on these patterns every single week. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't miss the next level of insight. If this video can protect even one man from walking blindly into this trap, it has value. Share it. Send it to a brother, a friend, a son who needs to see the pattern before it's too late. Hit share now. Finally, let me hear from you. The comments are where we build the network. Drop your word. Recognize, truth, clarity, protect. Let's get this discussion going. Your experience, your insight matters. Comment below. Stay aware, stay strong, and never stop building on a foundation of reality.